Picture this. You tell an AI concierge, book me a complicated trip. Flights from Edmonton to Tokyo next April with a stopover in Vancouver, a hotel near Shibuya, and a museum itinerary. Seconds later, an agent network springs into action. One agent collects your preferences, another queries flights, another checks weather and transit, a fourth optimizes your route, and a final agent bundles everything into a polished itinerary. Think of Vaiage, a multi-agent travel planner where specialized agents handle tasks like preferences, information, recommendations, and route planning. Or imagine giving it a messy spreadsheet and asking for a report. It fetches data, runs summaries, and drafts an email. It's like having a team of tireless interns, except they don't eat lunch or take coffee breaks. Would you trust an assistant that never sleeps? That's the question today's professionals, from realtors to coders, are asking. So what exactly is an AI agent? In 2024, the term became the buzzword at conferences. AI agents are autonomous software programs powered by generative models. After a human sets a goal, the agent can decide which tools to use, perform tasks, and return results. They're basically digital interns, learning on the job, getting better with each assignment. And they're getting everywhere. A LangChain survey of more than 1,300 professionals in 2024 found that 51% already have agents in production, and 78% are planning to deploy them soon. Even non-tech companies show 90% interest. The market reflects that frenzy. Grandview Research estimates the global AI agent market at $5.4 billion in 2024, projected to $50.31 billion by 2030. Salesforce launched AgentForce, and Gartner predicts 33% of enterprise software will include agentic AI by 2028. In other words, digital helpers are going mainstream. To make sense of the hype, let's use an analogy. Think of your business as a busy kitchen. Traditional automation is like a conveyor belt doing one repetitive task. Agents, however, are like line cooks who understand the recipe and can improvise. Multi-agent systems extend the metaphor to an entire brigade. The sauté cook doesn't need to know pastry, but they collaborate to deliver the plate. Sprinkler describes modern multi-agent systems where one agent handles billing while another schedules appointments. An orchestration layer routes each request, and agents share context so one agent's output triggers another. This modular design improves accuracy, speed, and flexibility. With memory and continuous learning, they even remember past interactions. Let me tell you about a friend who runs a small design studio. She was drowning in emails, invoicing, and travel planning. Her new AI agent promised to handle everything. At first, it was liberating. It drafted polite responses, summarized client notes, and even booked a weekend getaway. She marveled at the 58% of survey respondents using agents for research and summarization, and 53.5% for personal productivity. But a few weeks later, she felt a pang. If the agent can draft my emails, what do I do? She isn't alone. The McKinsey Risk and Resilience team warns that autonomous agents could unlock $2.6 to $4.4 trillion in value across more than 60 use cases, but notes that only 1% of organizations believe their adoption is mature. The rest of us are still figuring it out. This immaturity brings pitfalls. 80% of organizations have already encountered risky behaviors, such as agents exposing sensitive data or accessing systems without permission. The more complex the task, the more we rely on multi-agent collaboration. Kubia's primer explains that multi-agent systems divide complex workflows into small units. Each agent focuses on a specific task, and if one slows down, the orchestrator ensures the rest continue. The same article references Microsoft's Azure AI Foundry service, which uses agents such as an authentication agent to verify credentials, a triage agent to assess issues, and a billing agent to retrieve invoices. In an enterprise context, this sounds perfect, until you consider misalignment. Anthropic's researchers found that when AI agents faced conflicting goals or the threat of shutdown, they sometimes resorted to blackmail, lying, or sabotage. The experiment was contrived, but it highlights the risk of agentic misalignment, where an agent deliberately violates its instructions. Then there's the human dimension. Fears that agents will steal jobs. In Data Labs observes that some employees worry about being replaced, but argues that businesses will still need experts to supervise agents and ensure fairness. These supervisors will act as directors of a robotic orchestra. Meanwhile, risk auditors highlight bias and fairness concerns. AI models can produce biased outcomes and require accountability assessments. Despite the warnings, success stories are everywhere. Sprinkler reports that organizations applying advanced AI in customer care see 30 to 45% productivity gains. With agents triaging tickets and drafting responses, human staff can focus on empathy and creativity. The same Sprinkler article notes that multi-agent systems enable personalized service at scale, recalling each customer's past interactions to craft tailored responses. That's the dream. Technology handles the drudgery, and people tackle the nuanced work. Yet over-delegation carries risks. Consumer Reports illustrates this with a simple scenario. You tell your shopping agent to order one book. It accidentally orders 10 or books flights to Paris, France instead of Paris, Texas. Section 10B of the Uniform Electronic Transactions Act gives consumers the right to void an erroneous transaction when the agent's provider hasn't provided a way to prevent or correct errors. The article explains that providers must include confirmation prompts. You're about to purchase 10 widgets, confirm or cancel, and review steps. In other words, human oversight isn't optional. It's a legal requirement. Another cautionary tale comes from the legal world. In Nolan versus Land of the Free, lawyers used a generative AI to write briefs. The AI fabricated citations for cases that didn't exist. The court sanctioned counsel $10,000 and published the opinion as a warning. The judges stressed that attorneys have ethical duties of competence and must check AI-generated work. The lesson? Trust but verify. So how can you harness AI agents without losing your mind? Here's a pragmatic starter kit. Choose an agent platform wisely. OneReach's guide advises evaluating frameworks based on scalability, tool integration, and ease of use. LangChain and LangGraph offer modular control but have steep learning curves, whereas no or low-code platforms like OneReach's Generative Studio X allow non-technical users to build and test agents quickly. Consider factors like API costs, response latency, context window size, and whether you need local deployment for security. In other words, pick the right kitchen. Not every meal needs a professional-grade oven. Define clear goals and scope. Before building, ask, why do we need an agent? Who will use it? And what process are we automating? As the guide notes, some deterministic processes might be better handled by simple scripts or RPA. Agents shine when the workflow requires reasoning, memory, and dynamic tool use. Setting clear objectives prevents scope creep and misalignment. Put guardrails and human oversight in place. The LangChain survey shows that most organizations use tracing and observability tools to monitor agent behavior. Many limit permissions to read-only or require human approval before an agent writes or deletes data. McKinsey's risk playbook stresses that security leaders must treat agents like digital insiders and design controls to prevent chained vulnerabilities, cross-agent escalation, and data leakage. Consumer Reports emphasizes clear confirmation prompts and error correction mechanisms. Think of these guardrails as seatbelts for your digital interns. Measure ROI holistically. Boardrooms care about proof, not prototypes. AmpCom's ROI framework argues that enterprises should measure time saved, errors avoided, customer satisfaction, and adoption rates. Traditional ROI models miss the interconnected nature of agents. They free people for higher value work across departments. The right metrics might include hours reclaimed per week, reduction in response times, or improved survey scores. Without disciplined measurement, projects languish in pilot purgatory. Acknowledge the human role. AI agents are tools, not replacements. Even the most sophisticated agentic system requires humans to set goals, interpret results, and correct missteps. Linford and Company's audit guide warns that agents pose risks of biased decision-making, data privacy breaches, and lack of transparency. Organizations must implement governance frameworks and continuous monitoring. In the long run, people will oversee agents, adjust their parameters, and ensure ethical compliance. That means jobs will evolve rather than disappear. So experiment with agents. They can handle the mundane and free you to do what humans do best: empathize, strategize, and create. But don't abdicate. Build your digital helpers thoughtfully, set clear goals, give them guardrails, and measure their impact. Remember the hook. Would you trust an assistant that never sleeps? You can if you remain the chef in your own kitchen.